rock and roll with rock hard riffs.
Well, hey there guys, this is Rock Hard Riffs, the rock and roll guitar channel for the self-taught. In today's video, we're going to talk about some stuff that I have personally learned from other YouTube channels. Now also at the end of this video, I have kind of a message for those of you that regularly watch the channel, so please stick around to the end, I'd really appreciate it. And for those of you who are new to our channel, please take a look at some of our other stuff, and if you like what we do, please subscribe, we'd really appreciate that. Okay guys, so let's get right on with it. Now, you know, when I first started this channel, I watched God knows how many channels. I watched video after video after video. I wanted to learn, see how people did other things and stuff. I tried to pick and choose what I liked, and what I didn't like, I really tried to avoid. There are some really great channels out there, and there's some real stinkers too. Now, there were some channels actually out there where the people, the host, whatever you want to call them, they kind of like bully their audience. And to me, that's just beyond me. You know, bullies, I just have no time for people that are bullies. Now take this area where I live. I live in a retirement community, and you'd figure most everybody's old and sweet and all that. You know, it's like they're not far from heaven, and they want to make sure that they get all the brownie points they can, I suppose. But most people are just generally nice. But there's always a bad apple, at least one in the barrel. And we have one in our barrel here in our little community. You know, it just seems like some people just, if they're miserable, they have to try to make everybody else miserable. And they bully other people, right? Now, half of the people in the community thinks this person is just a bully. The other half kind of think they're mentally ill. Now, I think it's kind of a mixture of both, and that's too bad, really. I'm sincere when I say that. I feel really bad for people that have mental illnesses or whatever kind of disability. That's really, really unfortunate. But the issue for me is that when they try to make their problem everybody else's problem, that's when I definitely have a problem. And I will make myself known. You know, I kind of have sharp elbows sometimes. I can be a little bit, abrasive at times. And I don't mean to be, I don't want to be, but it's just something that gets in my craw, and I just have difficulty holding it back. So if there are bullies or mentally ill people out there watching it, chill out. If you have a problem, seek help. Please, for your own sake, and for everybody around you. Seek help. Okay, so let's get on with the good guitar channels. Now, we're going to start with the big gun. This is the big guy. Almost everybody knows him. That's Tim Pierce. That guy's a phenomenal player. You can't help but notice it when you watch him play. He's just amazing. He's a great player. And he doesn't have to fly all over the place and do Eddie Van Halen and all that. No, he's very tasteful, and I really appreciate his playing. Now, there are two things primarily that I had learned from Tim. One is that I watched one of his videos, and he's talking about using a capo when he's doing solos on over people's music. And when he was talking about it, I thought, oh my gosh, I do that same thing, except I just use my index finger. I do the soloing with my other fingers, but I bar this just in case I make a mistake, right? Whatever key it's in is where I'm going to bar. He used the capo, he said in one of these videos, like, you know, almost like great minds think alike. I'm not saying I have a great mind, but it's very, very similar to what Tim at least used to do, as far as I know. The next thing that I learned from him, and I was a real stick in the mud about this, I hated distortion/overdrive pedals. I mean, I hated them with a passion. I used to have one of those orange distortion pedals, you know what I mean? That 9/10 of the time they sounded like crap, except when the battery started to die. Then it's like, oh man, can't you sound like that all the time? And then the battery dies and it's dead. Drag. But anyway, I paid attention to what Tim was saying. You know, I have an open mind, and he uses amps primarily that are pedal platforms. I thought, all right, well, let me search out some good pedals, some good distortion pedals and that, and maybe I'll do that. And I did. I found the Strymon Sunset, which is an absolute killer distortion overdrive pedal. And so then I got rid of my 100-watt JVM, my Marshall JVM, and I got this guy right here instead. Now this is a Marshall Origin 20 with a 2x12, EVH 2x12 with it. It doesn't even have reverb. It has very little overdrive. I had done a bunch of research. I just typed in pedal flat platform guitar amps, and this thing just kept coming up again and again and again. So I thought, all right, what do I have to lose? I'll give it a try. And I'll tell you what, I don't think I would ever turn back, to tell you the truth. So kudos to Tim Pierce. Tim, if you're watching this, people are paying attention to you. I'm one of them. Now, I don't watch really much of anybody's channels anymore. Let me give you a real reason why. It has nothing to do with ego. I used to know a guy that was a really good golfer. This was in high school. He was just a phenomenal golfer. And he won some type of scholarship or something, and he got to take private lessons with Johnny Miller, if you've ever heard of him. He was a top-notch guitar player way back, top-notch golfer. So part of his thing was he got to go to Scotland with Johnny Miller, and he was teaching him there. And what happened was he completely changed my friend's grip, his swing, everything. And it absolutely ruined his game. He just sucked playing golf ever afterward because of that. So because of that, I try to learn things vicariously. I thought, I'm just not going to learn so much technique or that sort of stuff from other players, but I want to there are certain things that I do pay attention to. And of course, one of those was pedal platform amps. So Tim, thank you for that. Okay, next up is another big gun. This is another big guy. He's probably the biggest guy on YouTube, and that's Marty Schwartz. And also his buddy, Brett Papa. Okay, now I was watching this one video, and Brett Papa was talking about how he used to use these guitar picks that were so thin they would actually curl. Well, I have a bag of those still from way back in the 80s. I used to get these things by the gross. And these things are so thin, I'll show you a close-up picture of it. These are the Dunlop, that's just a Dunlop pick, but they're ultra thin, and they're a Jazz 3 style. Let me show it to you. Now, if you can see that, this thing actually has a little bit of a curl to it. So when Brett Papa said he used to use these picks that are so thin they had a curl to it, I knew exactly what he was talking about. Now, I don't know if he was using Jazz 3s or not, but these things are just incredibly thin, right? But I loved them, right? They were great, but he said, try using a thicker pick and see what it does for you. So I went through a few different picks, and then I finally settled on this. This is a Jazz 3, a Dunlop Jazz 3, and they're super thick, and they're made of graphite or something like that. I absolutely love these picks. So Brett Papa, I took your advice. I definitely agree. I love these picks, especially when you're playing a guitar that does not have hot pickups. Sometimes you have to hit that guitar to really get them going. Like Fenders in particular is what I'm thinking of. And this pick does the trick. Well, at least it does the trick for me anyway. Now, another thing I really admire about Marty is his teaching style. The guy is the perfect teacher. He has a perfect temperament for teaching. He's very calm, he's very patient, and he really knows what he's doing, right? He can really teach how to do it. And so I really admired that about Marty Schwartz. I also, little secret, kind of model my channel after him. Don't tell him I said that. But I really do admire Marty Schwartz. Okay, the next one, number 3 or 4 if you want to call it that, was Norm's Rare Guitars with Mark Agnesi. Now, Mark he has that personality to him, right? He's like, hey, who you calling a mook? Who you calling a mook? What's a mook? Hey, you calling me a mook? Right? That was kind of his attitude, which I thought was funny. It was entertaining. And I really loved his playing style. He's not flailing all over the place all the time. He's not noodling. He's not doing all that, which is great because, I used to really focus on that in the 80s. I concentrated constantly on lead playing and all that, and you kind of had to in those days because if you weren't the next Eddie Van Halen or Randy Rhoads, you just weren't shit. Pardon my French. So, I had to go along with that, I felt. And I did it. I became a pretty damn good lead player. I was one of the best around in town as far as what I was told. So, but now I've kind of abandoned it. And that's because I don't want to feel like I have to be some kind of circus freak, right? Of course I'm here to entertain people when I play, but I don't want to go to that extreme where I'm uncomfortable with it, which is one thing I admire a lot about Eric Clapton. And it's one thing that everybody complains about Eric Clapton, is that later on, he became more of a songwriter. Well, man, I'm telling you, listen to this advice. I know what I'm talking about on this. I would much rather be a great songwriter than a great guitar player. I know that might sound weird, but think about it this way. Great guitar players, as great as they are, they're a dime a dozen. You know, there are thousands of them out there. Great songwriters, well, they're few and far between. Songwriting is the key as far as I am concerned. Learn to write a great song and then let the rest follow. And that was one of the things that I really admired about Mark Agnesi's playing, is he didn't come across to me as being egotistical. He didn't, he's not constantly flailing around. And I thought, man, I can do this. I can do this YouTube channel. Because I was thinking before, if I don't constantly flail around and all that stuff, nobody's going to watch. And one of my problems is, as if some of you know, I have a really screwed up back. And that's going to be part of what we talk about at the end of the video. But anyway, half the time, my left hand is partially numb. And my right hand shakes like a leaf because I have a bunch of pinched nerves up here in my neck and my back, in the middle of my back, and in my lower back. And it makes soloing kind of difficult. It makes a pain in the rear. If you watch really closely in some of my videos, you can see me shake, right? And it's like, wow, does this guy have some kind of disease or something? It's like, no, it's pinched nerves in my back. That was something else I noticed on one of Tim Pierce's videos, that he started getting a pinched nerve in his neck or his shoulder or something like that. And so he was trying to reverse it. And it's like, Tim, if you only knew, dude, this is all throughout my back. And I'll tell you what, it makes you irritated. It irritates the living crap out of me, and sometimes I don't even know it. I get angry as hell sometimes for absolutely no reason. I don't know why. Why am I so angry? What am I angry about? And it's my nerves are just going ape crazy. You know what I mean? In my back, especially when I sit like this, and I have to edit videos, it just kills me. So anyway, guys, those are the primary channels that I really, really admire. I'm not going to talk about the ones that I don't care for. The one thing that I kind of look for in a guitar channel is, just like everybody does, likability. That's number one. That's number one rule in sales, etc. You have to be likable. Am I likable? Yeah, I can be. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm not the most pleasant guy you want to be around, and some of that has to do with my back. And I apologize to people that I have been short with or been an a-hole to. I do apologize. I have never meant to be a jerk to anybody. But again, sometimes I can be a little abrasive. Okay, so likability. Number two, do you know what you're doing? You've got to know what you're doing to do something like this. And I've seen some channels that the guys, they just don't have a clue of what they're doing. It's embarrassing. And it was what I had always kind of assumed YouTube guitar players would be like. Just somebody that just can't make it, is not very good, and so they do their thing on YouTube. And some of these guys have great big channels. Why do they have great big channels? Because they follow the number one rule, the likability. Right? So that's important. It is important whether we like it or not. And, proficiency on the instrument is extremely important in my opinion. So that's kind of what I look for in a guitar channel. Not so much likability, but just don't be a jerk. You know what I mean? So that's basically it, guys. Tim Pierce, I don't watch these channels much at all. Not anymore, because I don't want to over-influence. I don't want to have undue influence on what I do. Just like the guy playing golf. He lost his game after he took the advice of somebody that was a pro. What a drag. This guy could have wound up to be a pro himself, and, that's that. Again, so that's Tim Pierce, Marty Schwartz, and Brett Papa. These guys are great players. I haven't seen anything from Brett Papa lately. I know that he moved to Nashville, but I have no idea what he's doing. And of course, Marty Schwartz, he is the hippo, the elephant, and the giraffe, and every other gigantic animal you can imagine in the room. He just overshadows everybody, and that's primarily because of, let's be honest, guitar jams. He's on a few different channels, so he's constantly in a feed. You see this guy again and again and again and again. And I'll tell you what, the truth, every once in a while when I need to brush up on a song, I'll watch Marty. I will. And again, last but not least, was Mark Agnesi. I just really admired his playing. I like how he kept things kind of subdued, but he's very professional about it and just has great technique. And his attitude is funny. He was entertaining. So those are the kind of guys, the kind of channels that I really like. So now let's get on to what I was telling you about. I have a little bit of information for you. I have done everything in the book I can to try to fix my back. As you've seen some of my videos, if you're a regular to the channel, I'm trying everything. I've had all kinds of steroid injections into my back. I don't like to talk about personal stuff too much, but just to let other people know who have reached out to me that have had injuries and problems too. So I've had all kinds of stuff done to my back, and none of it is working. So I'm going to have to break down and have surgery. And I'm going to have several surgeries, which really sucks. Also, my mouth. I hear it's kind of obvious that my teeth are all messed up. It's actually not my teeth, it's my jaw. They're going to have to reconstruct my jaw and put in implants. But that costs $60,000 after insurance. We have really good dental and medical insurance, but the cost is going to be $60,000 after insurance. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't have that. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about my teeth or my mouth. One thing at a time, if I can, I really don't know. So what does all this mean? Well, I may not be putting out as many videos as I have been. For the past year or so, I've been putting videos out about every other week. I'm going to try to jam a bunch of videos together that I can. I'm going to try to do as much as I can before I have surgery so that I can keep putting videos out regularly, but I may or may not be able to do that. I don't know. The recovery for each surgery is 6 weeks. Ugh. I mean, 6 more weeks of laying on the couch or in bed, which I already do. But now, constant laying down, no sitting, no nothing. I'm not looking forward to that, but I am praying and hoping and looking forward to maybe getting my back fixed so I can actually strap on a guitar again. Might be able to play in a band or something. That would be great. That'd be fantastic. I really hope that happens. So I just wanted to inform you. I know you guys might be getting sick to death of hearing about my back. I get sick to death about talking about it, but I have to let you know because some people are expecting me to teach you constantly leads and solos and this and that, like a lot of these other channels do. It's extremely difficult for me to show you something when my hands are shaking like leaves, right? And I can't really play it because I can't feel the strings. Ask Tim Pierce what that's like. He'll tell you. It's like next to impossible. It's difficult, but this is all I can do, so that's why I do it. And I love music. I mean, I love music since I was a little tiny kid. It's been my thing. I first started playing guitar when I was like 7 years old. On and off since then. It's been a long, long time. I did take about a 25-year break in the middle there because I was so sick to death of the music business, and also being on the road sucks. You don't want to do it, or at least I don't. I'd like to do what Tim Pierce is doing, be a studio musician. That's really my dream, is to do what he's doing. So that's it, guys. All right, I really appreciate you watching. Please leave a comment if you would. Let us know what your thoughts are, what you're feeling, etc., etc. All right, guys, I would truly appreciate that. All right, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next video.